Okie dokie. So we're going to get out your big soup kettle, the biggest pan you have, and I'm going to start with cooking up about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds of lean ground beef. And I'm just going to get that going with my old chop and stir. You want to get the beef so it's nice and crumbly and no longer pink. It's going to take a couple of minutes. And now I'm going to get to work on slicing up, or dicing up, I should say. And I want a pretty fine dice on this, some celery, and I've already got some onion that's diced up. So the big news in my house, the Christmas tree is gone. I am kind of embarrassed about it because, first of all, I just didn't, the house looks so pretty with all the decorations. And with this winter being long and cold, I just didn't want to take it down. I wasn't ready. And to be honest with you, it was a live tree, and this tree would not lose its needles. It was like it wanted to be kept up. I have never seen a tree like this. It was incredible. Just started losing needles like about a week and a half ago, and we knew it was time. And I have to be honest too, when it was all down, it felt really, really good. The house is not so sparkly, not so pretty, but just to get it all away and you know, it's, I guess, the holidays for a reason, so that we'll look forward to it next year, but I just had to keep it up a little bit longer than normal. Normally I have that Christmas tree down at least, you know, that first week after New Year's, but this winter I was like, oh, it's the only thing that's, you know, when you come home after a long day, besides soup, it was just sparkly and pretty, but it does feel good to have it down. Anybody else keep their tree up a little longer than usual this year? But, you know, we were all talking about, we had a big family dinner last night, and we all were talking about, yeah, it's good to have it down. It's a little bit sad, and the house isn't quite as sparkly, but now maybe we can look forward to spring. So, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to buy some tulips or something today to put around the house, because it does seem kind of empty, kind of bare. What, Ann? Yeah, Ann said if you're going to bring them, you know, outside, make sure and wrap them up good. Yeah, those flowers, they don't like this cold weather, so good point. But it does feel a little empty, the house, although it feels clean and neat, it just feels empty without something. So gotta get something to get a fake tree. You know what? Ann says get a fake tree. Well, you'd still have to take it down. Doesn't really matter. You mean leave it up all year round? I don't think no. Can't do that. That's why you look forward to putting it up, you know, right after Thanksgiving, and then you always got to take it down, which isn't so fun. Okay, so now I'm going to add about a cup of finely diced onion, one medium-sized onion, finely diced. In goes our celery. So this kind of has all the components of a cheeseburger, but it's, and you'll see we're going to be adding quite a bit of cheese, but it's like soup in a bowl, so it's creamy, it's got some potatoes in it, it's just really delicious and it's just fun. I just did an article on family dinners and how do you get families to the table and how, you know, it's so complicated, it's so tough these days. And one of the tips that I gave was try and make dinner and the recipes that you're serving the kiddos a little more fun. Instead of just, you know, beef roasts and meatloaf, which my family actually happens to love both. You know, when they come in after a long day of school, and my daughter Ireland is on the high school dance team, which they're getting ready for regionals this weekend, and we're headed to Wausau early Saturday morning. I think she has to get on the bus at 5 a.m., and then we're not too far behind that. Bob and I are going to drive down there, and then next weekend, if they make it to state, we go all the way to La Crosse. So anyway, they're getting busy, ready, practicing for the games, and you know, they've got basketball games they're dancing for and getting ready for the competition. So she walks in at night, you know, 7 o'clock or even later if they've got a game, sometimes 9:30 at night, just starving. And, you know, saying, first thing she walks in, what's for dinner? I'm starving. Cheeseburger chowder? Well, man, she's going to just light up. So do fun things for dinner. Once in a while, do something out of the box, something different, something to get the kids a little excited, especially this time of year when it's just kind of wintry and boring and, you know, just not the greatest time of the year. Okay, so we're going to add some garlic salt, or you could just do salt and pepper, but I really love my garlic salt. And we had quite a bit of beef in there, so I'm going to season it pretty well. And some pepper. And I want to, you know, when you think of chowder, you think of that creamy, wonderful, you know, normally you think of a clam chowder, but this is nothing like that, but it is wonderfully creamy with potatoes and some other great things in it. So at this point, I'm going to add some flour, a few tablespoons of flour, which is going to thicken this soup and make it a really nice, creamy, rich soup. And we don't need to add butter, which normally we would to make a cream soup, because we have a little bit of the drippings, the grease from the beef. So that's going to work. And here I'm going to do just a little bit more to help thicken this soup. I just want to cook that flour with the beef just for a minute or two so that you kind of cook that flour taste out of there. Now we're going to come in with some chicken stock. I'm going to turn up the heat here. And some Lamers. We love our Lamers milk. I'm using whole milk. You could lighten it up and you could use 2% or even skim. And when this starts to simmer, the soup is going to start to thicken a little bit. I'll keep our milk nearby in case we need some more. Now, I mentioned chowder, and so chowder has potatoes in it. And I'm going to cheat and make things really nice and easy. I've got 3 cups of, these are just the frozen, cubed, Southern-style hash browns. You could certainly peel and dice and you know, do potatoes that way if you wanted, but I like to take some shortcuts and take some help where I can get it. So I love to be able to just buy the frozen hash browns in a bag. You don't even need to let them thaw. You can just pull a few cups out of the bag and then seal up the bag and get them back in the freezer for your next recipe. I mentioned cheeseburger chowder, so we need some cheese in here. So we're also going to add some cubed, just processed Velveeta cheese, which is going to make this cheese, just the soup, cheesy and wonderful. Why we're using that is because it really melts terrifically. So it really is the perfect type of cheese to use. Now, on a cheeseburger, we've got some more cheese that we're going to garnish this soup with. I've got some diced tomatoes, and here's the kicker. This sounds really weird, but it's really fun in this recipe. I love dill pickles on my cheeseburger. What about you? Are you dill pickle? No, Ann? Oh, I don't know. Ketchup, dill pickles. One of my favorite burgers is the Kroll's burger with butter, ketchup, and I love dill pickles. So I'm just going to finely dice up some dill pickles. And the in thing with soups these days is not to just serve a bowl of soup, is to serve it with some fun toppings on the top. So this cheeseburger chowder, one of the things that makes it so fun is that you can kind of put on there the toppings that you like on your cheeseburger. So I like to have the big bowl of pot of soup on the stove simmering, and then I put little bowls that the kiddos can garnish and put on their soup the same type of things that they'd like on their cheeseburger. So some extra cheese, some diced tomatoes, some finely diced dill pickle, and it really just completes the whole thing. Just like you do chili fixings bar. You know, I know a lot of people do chili for the Super Bowl that's coming up. Put a bunch of different types of chili on or just one big batch of chili on your kitchen island and a bunch of the chili fixins. Same idea for this. In fact, this recipe would be perfect for Super Bowl. Maybe double the recipe, have it sitting in a slow cooker, which it'll hold really nicely, and then, you know, have the burger fixings out there. This would be a really fun one. I think having a soup party is also a really fun idea, especially in the winter, especially this time of year. We're all watching our pennies after the holidays, and you know, I think it's a great idea to, you know, have a party, but have everybody bring a different type of soup, and then everybody can try different soups, and you can have different fun soup toppers. I think that's a really neat, you know, way to beat the winter blues this time of year. Okay, so this is starting to simmer, and once it starts to simmer, which is going to happen any second, I'm going to come in with my potatoes and my Velveeta cheese. I'm not going to whisk, because you can already see that this is starting to boil. But this is a soup that you need to keep an eye on, because we're putting so much cheese in here, processed cheese. It does have a tendency to, it could burn, so keep an eye on it. You don't want it real high of a heat, and you want to be, whisking it, stirring it often. Okay, so in goes our cheese, and this is 16 ounces of Velveeta that we have just cubed in little pieces. That makes it melt a little easier. There was a big, news story just a couple weeks ago about a shortage of Velveeta. We were able to find it no problem. So I guess in this area we still got enough to go around, so far anyway, for all those cheesy soups and dips and things like that. And there are some recipes where that really just does work the best because it just melts so nicely. And you see how this cheese is melting and starting to thicken. In goes our potatoes, about 3 cups. This is just a little bit too much, I can see. And once they hit that hot soup, they're gonna, if they're a little bit frozen, they're gonna cook right there and then. And it's just about soup time. So this is a quick one. Really, you can throw this together in 15, 20 minutes or so after work. It's not one of those soups, it's an all-day deal. And it's that rib sticking kind of food, makes a nice big batch. At this point, this is optional. You don't have to do it, but one of the things that is nice to do when you finish a soup, this soup has so much richness going on though, you really don't have to do this, but just to come in with a little bit of cream at the end. And I always think it's a good idea to season soup as you go. So season maybe with a little more salt and pepper at this point, or garlic salt and pepper, just to not season at the beginning, but also season all the way through. All right, I think soup's on. And I'll show you how we'll serve this, or how I'd serve my bowl of soup anyway. I like it loaded. Just like when you go to one of those steakhouses and they say, how do you want your baked potato? And, want sour cream, bacon, chives. And I say, yeah, all of the above. Give me the works. So same for my burger. Diced onion would also be great to put on your little burger fixings bar. So I serve this piping hot in a bowl. Got the potatoes and the cheese in there and all that yumminess. And if you drip, it's not a big deal at all. Just take a clean, damp rag, and this is what they do at all the fancy kitchens, at all the restaurants that I've been behind the scenes. This is what they do. They wipe the plate before they take it out to you. And then some extra shredded cheddar cheese. Some finely diced tomato. And then this is my favorite part about the soup, is some diced dill pickle. Or if you're a sweet pickle person, you could do sweet pickles. But there you go, my cheeseburger chowder. This is always a hit. It's something fun to, break up winter a little bit and just make dinner a little bit more lively, a little more festive. Tell everybody you're having cheeseburger chowder for dinner tonight and watch them light up.